Hey there. So I'm going to have a look at this new VEX Robotics HEXBUG boxing bot set. This is the version that has two robots in it. One's this red and yellow color scheme, and then the blue and white color scheme that you see here. And these are pretty cool self-balancing robots. You've got the remote control with the smartphone app, the VEX Pilot app, which you can find in the iOS and the Android app stores. They're able to balance using a program that runs on the brain, the VEX Pilot brain. So this set, which has two robots in it, has 4 motors per robot. So you've got a total of 8 of the new VEX Pilot motors. They're 9-volt motors. Each robot has a battery box that takes 6 AA batteries. So on the box it says it requires 12 AA batteries, which are not included. And it has 2 brains. So this is one of the more expensive sets for 2018. Basically $150. A single set is about $80, I think. So it is slightly cheaper to get 2 if you buy the double set. The brain actually is different from the VEX Pilot brain that is in the off-road truck that is available for sale this year for purchasing. This one looks very similar on the outside. The color scheme is different, but internally there's an IMU, which is a sensor that allows for measuring acceleration and rotation about 3 axes. So that's a difference in the brain, and that's the program running on the brain, of course, is different than the program running on the off-road truck brain. And this one uses all 4 of the ports on the VEX Pilot brain for motor control, whereas the truck had a port that was used for sensors, for a rotation sensor basically. So it says ages 8 and up, 124 pages in the manual. It's actually 2 separate manuals, one for each robot, so each manual is actually about 62 pages. It says the difficulty is 3. It's not very hard at all to build, and between the 2 robots, 615 plus pieces. That's pretty nice. On the back of the box you can see some more details about the red and yellow version. You can adjust the arms, the position of how the arms attach at the shoulder to these motors. That would let you make it so it does what they're calling an uppercut versus a jab. The position of this one basically punches straight forward. You can kind of see it here. And it has a little picture. This is not what the actual app looks like. At least not the Android version. Maybe that's what the iOS version looks like, but the Android app looks quite a bit different from that. You can see a picture of some of the different parts. It's all VEX IQ compatible. It says step into the ring and immerse yourself in STEM action. So it's again promoting the science, technology, engineering, and math concepts. Balancing robots is a very popular concept in robotics and STEM education. So that's cool. You don't learn how to write a program to do that at all, but that is pretty nifty. You learn more about kind of, I guess, mechanisms. This kind of a mechanism is pretty cool, with the motor rotating that causes the shoulder to turn this gear, which causes this lift arm gear to turn as well. It has a little how it works section. It says customize each match, line up the gears pre-fight for an uppercut or jab. And the manual actually has some pages in the back that show you how to make those adjustments. It looks pretty nifty, and this set with two makes it so you can, with two smartphones and two people running the apps, you can actually have a competition, which is pretty neat. So let's have a look inside. I'm just going to look at the red version at the moment. Keep the blue parts separate. So you've got 4 bags of parts and a manual. This is one of their full-size, high-quality manuals. I really like these. As I've said in some of my other videos, you've got this page at the front which points out a number of important aspects of the build. It has a measuring guide. Tells you to count before you connect to confirm the orientation of these connector pieces. You can measure the angle and check those. And it tells you some of the icons that you'll see throughout. In particular, this eye icon. It's encouraging you to pay attention to notice the orientation. But it's a really good, high quality manual, but as with all other printed manuals, they do get out of date as they get feedback for the steps that are harder to understand. They'll produce an updated electronic copy, and you can get those online. I'll have a link in the description that shows where to go to get the electronic PDF, and I definitely encourage you to do that. So at the very back, you've got pages that show how to change the arms, how to adjust those for an uppercut versus a jab, and you've got information about how to remove the battery box to update or to put in new batteries, basically. So that's nice. And then of course they've got the inventory page, which shows you the parts and how many of each part you get. I've seen some of these in other of the new sets, in the other unboxings I've done. This slope is new. You get 3 of this slope. These body panels, well, it's a body panel kind of, I guess. You've got 2 each of these 2 panels with the left and the right, and then you got 1 each of this L-shaped body panel with the curved surface. You've got 1 each of the gray colored 1x3 with the diagonal slope, and then 1 each of the red colored slopes. We got a couple of newer beams. These have been out for a couple of years. I think 2017 I think was when they both were first introduced. We got 2 each. 2 of the red piece that's used in the head. You can see kind of right here, it's a bent beam right there. And then we got 4 of this double bend here, 4 in gray, and that's used as part of the body construction. You got 2 on the front right here and 2 just in the back. You can't see very well in that picture. Yeah, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. They've got 2 of these panels that are the 3x, so 3x4 and a 3x8, 1 each of those. We've got a new piece that's basically a half a circle that's too deep, shall we say, or too tall, and then half a circle. I think it's 4. I think I'll have to check that. When I get it out, I'll have a look at that. And then 2 of these. That's definitely wrong. There's 1 on each shoulder. You can see that right here. There's 1 here, and one on the opposite shoulder. For some reason, oh sorry, one is the left and one's the right. Yeah, so one each, one left, and then over here, they've got the other one. Yeah, so it's one of each because it's the left and the right. And then a few other panels in the 4x, 4x4, 4x6, and 4x8. A couple of, or there's a 3x6 one in red as well. I don't remember where that goes. We'll have a look. Also, sorry. This black 2x2 is actually one with an axle hole in the center instead of a pinhole. So these the 6 white, those are all just regular 2x2 beams with a center pinhole, whereas this in black is a center axle hole. That's used in the shoulder, so there's two, one on each shoulder to rotate the arm using the shoulder motors. And there's a new piece here. I don't know for sure why they wanted to create this exactly, but an antenna with a pin at the bottom. I'm not sure, other than decorative, exactly what you would do with that on this. It's funny, the pictures don't really show it, but it's part of the head, and it just kind of sticks up at the back. These gear pieces are nice for lever mechanisms, geared. You can turn the gear and have a rotating lever. It shows that there's 4 of the motors and a battery box and a brain. Most of the other pieces have been around for a while. So let's go ahead and open up the bags and have a closer look at the pieces. This bag is mostly electronics and stickers, and I won't be putting the stickers on mine. But we'll open this up. We've got some nice big tires. Again, they're air-filled. You put them on the hubs. And then the brain, which like I said, has an internal sensor, an IMU, for sensing the rotation, so it can tell when it's tilting forward or back. A couple of plates and beam. Got 4 of the motors. You got, I think the outside ports are used for the wheels at the bottom. I think the inside ports are used for the shoulder motors. The stickers do look pretty cool, but I'm not going to put them on. This bag has some more of the larger pieces. Again, you've got these shoulder pieces in yellow. Kind of an interesting shade of yellow. One left, one right. Got one of these gear racks, similar one that's used in, I think it's white in the off-road truck. Of course, another one in the blue robot as well. And then these body panels. Left and right. Looks like there's 2 of each. And then you got the left and the right, 1 of each of these L-shaped panels. Look pretty cool. Nice slope. Connectivity in various positions. And this is that kind of half circle piece. 2 wide. Looks like it's 4 long. So 2x4. Some nice red beams. A few in the dark gray. And then there's a couple of these 3x, that's a 3x8. 4x8s. And you got a couple of these 1x2 decorative pieces. So it looks like there's 3 included. I think there was only used 2. And then you got a left and a right of these gray slopes. Total of 4 in the set. I thought I was seeing fewer than that, but I was probably just looking at one side. Yeah, so they show 1 each left and right. So I guess there's extras. 1 each left and right, yeah. So they've provided a couple extras. Give you 2 of each of that. Same with the red 1x3 slopes. We got 2 of each orientation. And these gray slopes, I think they're in white. Yeah, I think they're in gray. Also in gray for the boobot. Got 3 of these big, larger slopes, and then 1 of the smaller. And this bag has the wheels and some of the bent beams. So you've got the hubs for these tires. Pretty easy to put together, but you have to kind of fiddle a bit to fit it into the grooves. Got 4 of these yellow gears. I don't remember what size they are exactly, but 4 of those. Then you've got 2 of these that have the center pinhole. VEX hasn't come out with any kind of gear shifting mechanism, but I think my understanding is they have something in mind that would, where you could have a piece that would mesh with these little spokes to drive this gear. It doesn't have an axle hole, so it can't be driven directly by an axle. You could potentially attach something to it to drive it with an axle, but it's meant to be an idler, and then you could potentially push something up against it that would mesh with these little spokes to drive it. There's 2 of those. These work on the shoulder. Then there's purely decorative. This is the eye, kind of the robot's eye. Its head, maybe you can call it. But it's a nice little tire. It's so small, it's a little trickier to get it in there, but there you go. Three by 6 in red. And these are the 2 red double bend beams are used as part of the head decoration. And then 4 in gray that are structurally part of the body of the robot. Those are nice. You got 4 of these. I'm trying to think. Yeah, so each arm has 2. 1 on each side of the arm. And then 2 arms. So there's a total of 4 of those. much all the parts. Smaller 3x4 plate. These have been around for a while, of course. I think since the very beginning of the VEX IQ line, for holding like a rubber band. And here it's kind of not purely decorative. It attaches to this beam and then is kind of used at the base of the robot, partly for holding the battery box in place. But you can see at the very back of the instruction manual, when it talks about changing the batteries, it's got this little picture here. Those are the last pieces you have to take them off to get the battery box out, and then put them back on to put the battery box back in. Right here. And then this last bag is pins and connectors. I think actually, no, I'm missing a bag. Sorry, there's the other bag. These are the pins. And none of these are new. In terms of construction, they're using more of these, or these type of pins with the flat end at one side, so you push it through from one side and you can't pull it out through the other side at all. But yeah, they've got some that are the double long, or the 3 long, I guess you could say. So they've got a bunch of the regular pins as well, but I think last year's game included a whole bunch of these in yellow. And prior to that, I think they existed but weren't very common, but now they're starting to use this, I think, more often. And this is the antenna. They include 2 antennae in this. The pin on one side. Not sure exactly what it would be really good for, but it's a nice decorative piece. So there's a lot of decorative parts in like Lego sets that people find very creative uses for, including the antenna that comes in a number of Lego sets. And this piece we talked about before is kind of like a, in this case, mostly decorative. It's part of the wheel. Fits into the center, and the axle goes through both the axle hole in the wheel and the axle hole here, and then inside you put one of these axle stops to help hold it firmly onto hold the wheel firmly onto the axle. Alrighty, that's about it. I will have a review of it once I complete building it. Thank you.